I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real.
She was getting fouled, shoved, and targeted on national television week after week, and the league?
Silent.
The media?
Tiptoeing.
The coaches and analysts? Carefully neutral. Nobody wanted to be the one to say it out loud. Then the NBA players started talking, not polished press statements. Not rehearsed media days sound bites. Real words said in real time from some of the most respected voices in the entire sport. And when you line up everything they actually said, the praise, the warnings, the deliberate silences, a picture emerges that tells you far more about this moment in basketball history than any highlight reel ever could. At least 6 NBA All-Stars went on the record about Caitlin Clark. Some of what they said will genuinely surprise you. And a couple of them? What they chose not to say be the most revealing thing of all. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now and turn on notifications because the conversations we're breaking down in this video are ones the mainstream sports media buried you're not going to want to miss. What's coming? Let's get into it. Pascal Siakam was asked a simple question. He gave an extraordinary answer. It was one of those media availability moments. That supposed produced nothing a reporter, a microphone, a predictable question.
Caitlin is she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just.
Pascal Siakam, NBA All-Star Championship winner, one of the most quietly dominant two-way players the league has seen in years, was asked which player across all of basketball gets the most love from fans right now. The expected move? Name a teammate. Maybe a fellow NBA star. Safe, boring, done. Pascal didn't do that. Without any build-up, without any preamble, he said, Caitlin Clark. Not as a polite acknowledgement. Not as a by the way, she's doing great for a women's player kind of mention. He said her name the way you'd drop a name in a conversation about the actual best players in the game. He even compared the love she receives to the love Tyrese Halliburton gets, and Halliburton is one of the most electric point guards the NBA right now. That comparison isn't random. Pascal plays with Halliburton. He sees the fan fervor around that man every single night, and he's telling you straight-faced that Caitlin Clark's following matches it. Think about what that means. She's not just crossing over into NBA conversations as a talking point. She's becoming a benchmark that NBA players themselves use to measure star power. Pascal didn't have to say her name.
He chose to.
And that choice, unprompted, unscripted, in the middle of a media scrum, is the kind of thing that doesn't just make headlines. It marks a shift. Not every endorsement comes with a highlight reel quote. Sometimes the most powerful thing is what's underneath the words. OG and Anunoby is not the player you expect to deliver a speech.
He's reserved.
He's clinical. His game is locked in and ruthlessly efficient. But he doesn't do press conferences the way some guys do. All energy and personality and crowd.
Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides, but just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing, like it's so much. It's a joy.
OG says what he means, and then he's done. Which is exactly why what he said about Caitlin Clark hit differently. He talked about seeing her courtside at NBA games. He talked about the excitement she brings just by being in the building. But here's the part that actually matters. He flipped it. He said when she's playing, NBA players feel the exact same way watching her. The same joy. The same electricity. That's parity. That's not she's great for a female athlete. That's one elite competitor. Her recognizing another and saying the feeling is mutual. Two-way admiration between players who are performing at the highest levels their respective leagues have to offer. That kind of framing doesn't get enough credit. Most coverage treats Caitlin like a curiosity, an anomaly who wandered into relevance. Aji Anunoby is treating her like a colleague, someone whose game generates genuine emotion, genuine excitement, genuine watch-it-live urgency. In a media landscape where so much is performative, something that unpolished and that direct cuts through everything. She's not a guest in this conversation. She's been in it the whole.
I think for me, getting to actually spend time around her, be around her, get to know her personally, she's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with there's a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over, and I think that the way she handles that is just amazing. Like, I think when it comes to the game of basketball, like, she's probably top 5 most famous people that are playing right now, just in general. That includes our league.
Tyrese Halliburton didn't just compliment her, he defended her. There's a difference. A compliment is easy. You say the right thing, you move on, you get a favorable write-up, and everybody goes home happy. What Tyrese Halliburton did was something else entirely. He talked about actually knowing Caitlin Clark, spending time around her, seeing the person behind the highlight packages and the controversy cycles. And then he said something that very few people were willing to say publicly, that the noise surrounding her, the endless criticism, the physical targeting, the media narratives, is largely outside her control, and that the way she handles all of it is, in his words, amazing. He also dropped a number that reframes the entire conversation. He said Caitlin Clark is probably top 5 in terms of fame among all basketball players currently active, not just WNBA players. All players. That list he's constructing in his head includes LeBron James, it includes Steph Curry, it includes Nikola Jokic, and he's placing Caitlin Clark in that company, not as a stretch, not as a feel-good gesture, but based on the actual data of who people are watching, talking about, and searching for. Tyrese Halliburton is an NBA All-Star who has represented the league at the highest levels. He knows what celebrity looks like from the inside. He's not guessing when he says she's top 5. He's observing. And what he's observing is something that makes a lot of powerful people in the sport very uncomfortable. When LeBron James speaks, the entire sports world recalibrates. That's just the reality. It's been that way for over 2 decades. Every word he says gets analyzed, dissected, and played back in slow motion. So, when LeBron decided to address Caitlin Clark publicly, the weight of that moment wasn't lost on anyone paying attention. He didn't just offer praise. He offered perspective, the kind that only comes from someone who has been the face of a sport long enough to understand what it costs.
Everybody is looking for you to say anything, and they're going to splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in this.
He talked about the way people try to take anything a public figure says and weaponize it. He talked about what it means to grow a sport and why that growth deserves to be celebrated rather than picked apart. And then he brought up the chartered plane. For context, the Indiana Fever became the first WNBA team to fly chartered in league history. That happened during Caitlin Clark's rookie year. LeBron pointed to that fact not as a footnote but as the headline. A league-altering infrastructure change driven by the economic wave she created happened in real time. In year 1, LeBron has lived that kind of impact from the other side. He knows what it feels like to carry a franchise, to be the reason the planes are nicer, to be the reason the buildings are full. He sees it in Caitlin Clark. And the empathy behind his words isn't manufactured. It's a recognition of one generational force acknowledging another. He didn't say she was great. He said what she's already done is historic. Those are not the same compliment. Trae Young stepped into this conversation from a place that almost nobody else could. Here's the stat that
about Steph and Sabrina. I know that you have spoken about Caitlin Clark. You're a big Caitlin Clark fan.
Oh, yeah.
She, of course, is an excellent shooter. Would you ever do like a Caitlin Trae 3-point contest at All-Star?
Of course I would. I've gotten to talk to her too throughout her college years. We're the only 2 people that ever led college in points and assists. That's a crazy stat. I'd have to definitely practice a lot more than I have for these previous 3-point competitions. I'd be ready for sure.
in the entire history of NCAA basketball, only 2 players have ever led the country in both scoring and assists in a single season.
2.
One of them is Trae Young. The other is Caitlin Clark. So when Trae talks about her game, he's not doing it as an outsider looking in. He's doing it as someone who belongs to the same tiny, rarefied club she belongs to. There's a shared language there, a mutual understanding of what it means to carry a team with the ball in your hands, not just scoring it, but orchestrating everything, making everyone around you better, and doing it under the brightest lights the sport has to offer. When asked about the idea of a three-point contest between the two of them, the kind of thing that would absolutely break the internet, trade and hedge, he said yes immediately, and then he admitted, with genuine honesty, that he'd have to put in serious reps to be ready. That's not false modesty. That's a competitor saying, I respect your range enough to take it seriously. Trae Young is not in the habit of volunteering, that kind-off humility. The fact that Caitlin Clark pulled it out of him says something about how the basketball community actually views her abilities separated from all the noise. When a player who shares your statistical DNA looks at your shot and says, I'd have to prepare for that, it's not a compliment anymore. It's confirmation. Paul George gave a take nobody else was willing to give, and it's the most important one in this entire conversation. Everyone else praised. Everyone else expressed admiration. Paul George zoomed out and looked at the full picture, and what he saw was complicated. He acknowledged plainly that Caitlin Clark is an instant culture changer. The ratings, the attendance, the visibility, all of it real, all of it earned. He didn't dismiss any of that. But he also said something that requires context most sports media refuses to provide. He talked about the women who came before her, the players who built the WNBA from the ground up, women who played in near-empty arenas, fought for years just to get basic travel accommodation, never had cameras in their faces or brands fighting over them, and now watch a first-year player walk in and receive in 12 months what they could not get in 12 years of grinding. Paul George wasn't justifying the resentments some players have directed at Caitlin Clark.
He was humanizing it.
There's a difference, and it's an important one. When you understand why certain veterans feel blindsided by this moment, the tension in the league starts to make more sense. It doesn't make the physical targeting acceptable. It doesn't make the hostility okay, but explains why this isn't just jealousy. It's grief. The grief of a generation of players who deserved this moment and didn't get it. Caitlin Clark is the lightning rod for an argument that's been building in women's basketball for 30 years. Paul George was the only one honest enough to say it. Luka Doncic doesn't waste words. So when he uses them, you'd better listen. If you've watched him play or sat through any of his media availability, you know the deal. Luka is direct to the point of being almost blunt. He says what's true, and he moves on. No decoration. No calculated positioning. Just the answer. So when a reporter asked him casually, in a moment that wasn't supposed to produce anything extraordinary, who his favorite women's basketball player was, Luka's response carried a specific kind of weight. Caitlin Clark. Immediate. No pause, no qualifier, no diplomatic hedge.
Just a name stated like a fact.
He did acknowledge Paige Buchers briefly, noting she hadn't yet played